Hello there. Welcome back. I've been working on some chocolate boxes, Valentine heart boxes. I'm obsessed with the vintage ones. I have a few, but I've been making my own with vintage stuff, and I'm really loving how they're turning out. And I've looked on YouTube, and I haven't seen very many tutorials on how to cover chocolate boxes. So I went to the store and I bought a few different chocolate boxes, and I'm going to fill them with candy for my kids, but I wanted to make them more personalized. So there's some different ways that I'm going to do it. I'll kind of go through step by step. The first one is just covering it with some pretty scrapbooking paper and then embellishing with lace and ribbon and trim. I've been really studying on Pinterest vintage ones that have usually velvet or a beautiful satin. Sometimes it's ruched into the middle with a big rose and a bow. And I'm trying to mimic those. So let me show you first before I get into the project or projects, the ones that I have that I've already done. Kind of explain to you how they go. So this is a basic one that I had some velvet. The velvet had creases in it. I ironed it. It got some shiny marks from the iron. So what I did was just took a text stamp, this one here, put it under the velvet, and I put the plush side of the velvet down and then just ironed on it. And I got this kind of ghosted print image, which I love. And then I had some cotton fabric, and I just covered the rest of the box with this cotton fabric to cover up the edge. Now, I still haven't finished embellishing it with lace and ribbons and things like that, but I really love how it's turning out so far. This is another one that I bought, this puffy heart that was covered with this. It's not really velvet. It's a modern fabric with glitter in it. I just loved the color. I got this image out of this book, which I've already kind of partially just deconstructed, but just cut it in a heart shape, put it on there, and then covered over the rest of my boo-boos. So the fabric kind of buckled and puckered, and by gluing the lace around the edge, it kind of covers the construction elements so that you can really see. So I had some gift wrap that's very thin, and I gift wrapped the box edge and then put some gift wrap on the bottom, and then just left the original red. I liked that. So that's another one that was fairly simple to do and easy. And this is, trim off of a macrame or crochet top that I bought to cut all the pieces and elements out to use in junk journaling. This is another gift wrap that I had, and some vintage 1970s ribbon and lace. And I didn't do anything besides just put paper on top and embellish, which is what I'm going to do with this one here. Basically the same style. And you have to be careful not to put too much bulk on this part. Otherwise your box won't close. So this one, luckily, this was very loose. It's a little tight now with that fabric on, but I'm not really going to open it. I'm just have them displayed up on my mantle for the holiday. So this one I love. This was, we have a chain of cookie stores called Crumble, and they have these beautiful pink boxes. So I just used a Crumble cookie box. I have to put a piece of paper on the bottom here to disguise that. Just really simple. And what I did was I had some satin. I stuck the satin down with my glue stick flat. Then I had this lace. This was an old Jessica McClintock dress that I deconstructed. And I love that, the satin with the lace overlay. And there was a lot of vintage boxes that had this. It was either done with lace or with the satin itself. And these were some elements off of some baby clothes that I cut out. And then some jewelry bits that I had. And then some vintage 1980s iridescent lace that I've been hoarding. And this is another lace that I had. It was actually a whole sheet of lace, but it had this beautiful trim on the edge, so I just cut the trim off. Because a lot of the boxes have a larger base that they put this lace around, the vintage boxes. So I'm really happy with how that one turned out. All right, so let's go into putting these together. First thing you want to do, put your box down on the opposite side of your, this is pretty basic. If you've ever done any, you know, most of you that are paper crafters, I'm sure have done things like this. It's pretty easy, but I'm going to kind of whiz through this and show you, because some people may have questions. Some people may have never done this. So I wanted to have, if you look at the edge of this box, you can see that the image that was printed at the factory, they kind of wrap it around and then they put this little band around, which is exactly what we're going to do. But we're going to do it a little slightly different. So going back to sewing, whenever you have curves, you have to clip your curves to ease it in so you get so the curve comes out right. So I traced it around the box. I don't want a lot of overhang, just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is glue it down, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to clip all of this around. Then I'm going to put my glue on the edge and fold all those little bits down. So once you adhere your paper onto the top of your box, go around and fold down that little edge. You want to burnish it down as much as you can so that you have a mark when you go back to clip it. I'll show you now. So you can see, stand up so I can see if you can see this in the point you want to cut straight. Then you want to just go all the way around, doing about 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch, little bits. Now, one thing that I've done, you don't need to watch me go all the way around, but one thing that I have done that I found helps is if you clip away a little bit of it. So what I do is I make my clips and I go back and I do this. Cut a little triangle out. What happens is when you start folding this around, let's see what I mean. I'll just show you with these little pieces here. If you don't clip it, it starts to fold over on itself as you go around the curves. But if you clip these little triangles out, when you fold it over, they don't fold over each other, so it doesn't add any extra bulk around your box. So you can see these, if I were to put these all down like this, they're fine on the straight sections, but when I get to the curves, it starts to bulk up. So it's really important on the curves. I should have showed you that first. I showed you in the straights, and that's kind of defeats the purpose of my example. I know I was talking about my eyesight, you guys, but it is hard for me to create because I don't have good up-close vision unless I take my glasses off and put it right against my eyes. But then I can't do it on camera, and then it defeats the whole purpose for you guys. Okay. See what I mean? So I'm going to come back and put your... I just use glue stick. It works great. Fabric, too, because then you don't get any bubbles or bulk from the glue, any other glues. Fabri-Tac works, but I found my fingers getting too sticky with Fabri-Tac, especially when you're working with velvet and satin. There's a lot of strings there. So you see what I mean? In the curve, if you cut that little triangle out, so just do your split and then come back and cut. Make sure that's in frame. Just cut your little triangles. Sometimes you got to go back and pull them all out, but trust me, it saves you a lot of headache. So I've glued all this down. It's with it glues much easier if you have a thinner paper. With cardstock, it tends to want to pop up with the glue stick. But that's all right, because I'm going to hot glue a lace around the edge. I have this little piece of tape here. I could warm it up with a heat gun and try to peel it off, but I'm just going to leave it. I don't think my daughter is going to completely scrutinize my work. She's going to be happy to get a box full of chocolate. So this is actually a piece of elastic that has completely stretched out, but I like it because it looks like lace, and the color goes perfect with this box. It's just the same color as one of the roses. So I'm going to just hot glue this around. Now, normally I would put it right on the edge, but I'm going to come down just a tiny bit so I can cover the paper. See there? I've glued the one lace all the way around the edge. Started here, worked my way around slowly. You don't want to go too far with the hot glue because it dries. So I only went like 1.5 inches at a time, sticking it down because I didn't want a big lump of dry, cold glue under there. So it needs a little bit of something. This daughter that this one is for is a little bit of a tomboy. She likes girly things, but she's much more, what do I say, tailored more. She's not like fluffy, fussy kind of girl. That's my other daughter, my older daughter, Megan. My younger daughter is much more, she likes pretty things, but she's more simple, I guess, would be the word. She has more simple tastes and things. So I'm just going to do a really tiny little frill around the edge. I'm just going to put it around the very, very edge. It's funny because my girls are so different. One's blonde, blue-eyed. One has black hair and brown eyes. They're 9 years apart. They're a whole different generation from each other. They like different things. One is very girly and always been very girly, and the other one has been a little tomboy. She was the one who was out riding her little toy tractor down the hill in her fairy princess dress when she was little, in her new Easter dress, barefoot. Oh no, I think she had her snow boots on. Yeah, and she said she had to wear that fairy dress because she was looking for fairies and she needed to wear it. It was shredded to bits. So luckily I'm a sewer. So I just took some tulle that I had laying around. It was a tulle dress with a little velvet top. And I took all the tulle off and just made a tulle skirt with a ribbon and tied it around and salvaged the Easter dress. But yeah, I had a lot of things like that. And she's still, even now, she'll wreck something. And she's like, okay, Mom, don't be mad. I was like, oh, what did you wreck now? She doesn't always wreck things, but she's a little rough on things. So it's good she has a boy because she's a good boy mom. She likes to, do the remote control cars and go to football and baseball games, and she likes doing all the boy stuff. So you can see I'm just going a little bit at a time and just pressing the ribbon just on the very edge. So you see the two ribbons. See? I kind of almost, well, in spots here I didn't successfully do that, but to successfully do it, I want it to look like kind of one ribbon that got bent over. Okay, don't try lifting it back up once you've glued it because you rip your paper, as I just did. I was trying to make it come down further. Perfect. I think she's going to like that. I'm going to put some kind of a flower, bow, something in the middle. Thinking of something. I can make these out of some pink netting. Something like that. Something really simple. Or the clusters of those pink Maybe some of those I think could be pretty. I might also do maybe one more band of lace, because what makes them so special, what everybody loves about them, is how elaborate and fancy they are. I have this little itty bitty mini box that I'm gonna make, and I've had this for a long time. Whenever I find heart boxes in thrift stores or whatever, I buy them, save them. So I have a lot left over from different holidays. This is the best time to find them. I haven't found many this year, but I ended up having to go pay full price for the ones with the candy because I was too impatient to wait till after. And get them on sale. No, I had to buy them now. So I'll probably go back and buy some on sale because I want to make some more and put them away for next year, so I'm not up against the gun doing it the day before Valentine's Day again next year. This was a bow, so you can see, that had a piece of wire in it. So the wire rusted and kind of went through. Now I could soak this fabric and try to get this out, but I'm going to try. I really want to cover this little box with this, so I'm going to try to work around the stains on it and see if I can, think up here. Okay, don't do the bottom, it's the top. You gotta make sure you have the right. Oh, Karen, that would have really been a disaster. So again, you want to go, I go about 3/8 of an inch around. Quarter's sometimes too small when you're using fabric to wrap. 1/4 inch, as a rule, just do 3/8. Then you can always trim it down if you think it's too big. Once you glue it flat, you're going to go back before you do your cutting, your ease cutting, you know, the little cuts all the way around. You can see if it's too big, you can trim it down then. So this is how I do it. I'm just showing you with the little box. I have other big ones to do, but I just want to show you fabric with the little box. It's just a little easier to work with, and it'll be faster. So with velvet, you have the nap in the velvet, and sometimes it can be difficult. This is some of the vintage 1960s hot pink, you know, crushed velvet that was popular back in the day. I had a lot of clothes made out of this. My grandma was a seamstress, and her and my aunt used to make my clothes, and they knew I loved velvet. I was always very tactile, and so they used to make me clothes out of velvet a lot. So I have one dress that they made me. It was a really pretty, made with Chinese silk that my grandma made me, white, and she made me a crochet little vest that went over the top of it in pale pink. It was so cute. That was my church outfit. I wore it to church every Sunday when I went with my grandpa to church. But I wish I had some of the other. I had a cousin that was younger than me, and my mom used to give her all my hand-me-downs. But I wish I had a couple of those little dresses. I mean, I've got pictures of me in them, but I still wish I had some of them. Because my girls could have worn them. I had a couple dresses that, when I was older, that my aunt made for me, that I saved, and I got a couple pictures of my girls. Well, my oldest daughter. The younger one wasn't so into it, but the older one was. Okay, so I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did before with the paper, you know, snipping those little triangles out to just so I can ease it around. Then I'm going to come back and trim it. So basically, you do the same thing with fabric that you do with paper. And this is the easy way. This isn't actually constructing a box. This one I constructed from scratch, and I used another box as the pattern. You have to measure the top, and then you measure the bottom separately, and then I just measured around a larger bottom because I wanted to have that extra piece to put the lace. I have a small box like that I'm going to cover. I don't know if I'm going to do it in this video, but I'm going to go back, clip all this, glue it down, and I'll be back. With this crushed velvet, I can do a nice edge around the box. So I've kind of trimmed it flat, and I'm just going to do this. I'm going to glue it onto here around to the point, and then I'll glue the other piece, and I'm going to come back around and you'll see. I'll just do it. So you want to make sure that you get a good amount of glue. And I'm kind of pulling it because this velvet, like I said, is crushed velvet. It has a little bit of, pull and give to it. And I want it to be tight and smooth. Not smooth as in I want the crushiness to be gone. I just want it to be tight and smooth on the box. You'll see what I mean as I work my way around. Glue guns are their own special little animal. I've always had one. My aunt bought me my first one, my crafty aunt that taught me how to do all kinds of crafts, and she was also a seamstress. My dad had a sister that didn't have any. She had 2 boys, and she wanted a girl really bad. And she was not a girly woman herself, but she loved beautiful, elegant, girly things. And she was always making me, beautiful things. And I remember one year for Christmas, we were always allowed to open one Christmas gift on Christmas Eve, because we would go to my grandma's house for Christmas Eve because they were German descent, and Christmas Eve was always the holiday we celebrated with my mother's family, and we were always home for the holiday. So my dad's family would send us a box of Christmas gifts for Christmas because we always spent Thanksgiving with them, as they lived out of the area. And my aunt that year had sent me a box, and it was like a Western boot box, like a cowboy boot box, big. And I knew it was going to be something cool she made me, but I didn't know what it was. And my mom said, you can open one present. Do you want to open the present from Aunt Joyce? And so I decided, yeah, that was my present I wanted to open. And it was chock full of Barbie clothes. I mean, she must have spent hours making all these Barbie clothes for me. And to this day, it is the best gift I ever got. She knew me so well. And that little box was just chock full of amazing, things. And this was, I don't know, probably, I would say 1970, 1971. I was like 6 or 7, I think. And I don't think I didn't call her and thank her for the box, but I'm pretty sure my mom told her that I was over the moon about it. I always felt bad. I did tell her about it later. I said, you remember that box of Barbie clothes you gave me for Christmas? She goes, yeah. She goes, I had a lot of fun making those. And I said, well, that to this day is the best Christmas gift I've ever got. And she was so cute. My aunt was not a really emotional woman, and she welled up with tears. And I'm really glad that I took the time as an adult to thank her for that, for making, oh my God, here I go, the waterworks, for making something so magical and special for me. It was really amazing. She was an amazing woman. She's passed away now, and I really miss her because she and I used to sit and sew clothes for my kids and crafts, and that's where I learned how to craft and how to do doll clothes. I love making doll clothes. I'm obsessed with American Girl dolls, and I love making clothes for them. I have a couple of little nieces that I make doll clothes for, and I have a lot of fun with. So my love of doll clothes and sewing and all that came from her, because I used to go spend summers with her and my grandmother down there. Lived like 5 hours away from where I live, and they would take me to the fabric store and let me pick out all the fabrics that I wanted, and then they would sit, her and my grandma, and sew me all my clothes for my wardrobe for school for the fall. So, and there was little, oh my gosh, little skirts and vests combos, and but everything was, you know, fabric that I picked out that I was in love with. And then my grandma would give me the scraps to make doll clothes with myself, you know. And I think she and my aunt really enjoyed doing that for me, because I was the only granddaughter. I have 2 brothers and my aunt has 2 boys. Well, I did have 2 cousins that are older than me, but they didn't really associate with the family. They got my uncle, and their mother got divorced when I was a little girl, and they didn't come around for, well, a long time. I think they came to my uncle's funeral, but anyway, kind of silly, you know how families are sometimes. So anyway, I was the only girl, and I was very spoiled by my grandmother and my aunt. And my grandmother and aunt did not have the best relationship with my father or my mother, but I'll tell you what, they treated me like a little princess, and I loved it. So I have little people in my life that I like to treat really special. My granddude is one, and my granddaughter that is coming in June is going to get the royal princess treatment too. Just like the granddude does. He's not a princess, but he's definitely the going to be, you know, the emperor of the world. So, well, he thinks he is anyway, the way he bosses everybody around here. But I don't know how I got off on that tangent. Talking about sewing, I think, and my aunt, and crafting, and glue guns. Yeah, went down the rabbit hole. So you don't have a raw edge. What I do is try, and I already glued it down, so it's going to be tricky, but you want to take a little bead of glue, if you can get it to come out, fold this little piece under, just a teeny bit. And you're going to come back and stick that little seam down. Now, after I cover all this up with lace and stuff, it's not going to matter, but you see how with the plushness of the velvet, it kind of hides the seams and things, which the paper normally shows. So now I'm just going to go and trim around here, get all this extra off, because I'm going to put something on. I know I have some vintage 1960s something I can put on here, I'm sure. I have hat boxes full of, I don't know why I like to put it in hat boxes. I have hat boxes full of lace, and I mean hat boxes full. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hat boxes here in my studio, and then in my storage, I have those big storage bins full, literally full, of lace and fabric and all that stuff. So now what I would do, this little trick I learned from bow making, is go around the edge. Don't catch your project on fire, but just hold the lighter close enough to the raveled bits that they kind of melt. Because there's a lot of there's synthetic fibers in this velvet. There, then you don't have little strings coming back on you. So there's that. And the color matches really well. So I'm not even going to bother with the box. I'll heat this up and take this label off. If I rip it off, it's going to rip the paper, but if I warm it up with my heat gun and peel it off, it'll come off without damaging that. So that's basically how you do the fabric covering of these little boxes. I wanted to show you, to give you, for those visual learners like me, or the people that need to see it, actually being done. What is that? Experiential learners. This is how I did this, the ruching and the gathering. I took a piece, I'll try to show it to you the best I can, but glued this all the way around, and then I glued down this seam so when it lays down, you won't be able to see it. Now this is a little bit longer than I actually need. I'll probably trim it, but then I'm going to run a gathering stitch along this whole piece here and gather it tight. And then I'm going to glue this to the top of this box. There it is. So I just gathered it up, pulled the stitch tied. My thread broke on me, so I had to go in and gloop a whole bunch of glue in there and kind of press it in and glue it down, but it's nice and flat. So now I can put a rose or, you know, whatever kind of thing I want to put on here. Actually, I think it was mat board that I had laying around, and they had gathered this was a skirt that I bought at the Goodwill. They had gathered it up with the selvage edge, which most seamstresses, when they sew, they know to cut that off because it can make your seams pucker. But happy accident for me that it was still there, because I just used the already folded over bit to go through and use as a measuring guide, and it worked out perfect. I wanted to show you the construction of the covered box. Okay, so it started out with this box. It was very flimsy, so I put a decorative edge around the box. I made this topper to go on it. Still little threads. When you deconstruct clothes, sometimes there's little threads. I'll go around and clean that up later. And then I had this vintage doll dress, and it's, even though it's pink, it's kind of aged pink. It's from the 50s. I put it on there. Look at that. It looks like a vintage heart box. Oh my god, I'm so stoked. Then I had a little piece left over. Well, I have a lot left over, but a little piece of the one I had already trimmed out. So I went ahead and put that there. And then I made these a long time ago, gosh, like 10 years ago, using used dryer sheets that I dyed with regular paint, craft paint, and then cut them up and made a flower necklace out of it. So now I'm taking it apart. I took it apart and recycling. I love it. I love it. So the only thing I made you is still put some kind of a trim around this edge here, because I don't like how this looks. So I might put something around the edge of the purple that rolls over onto there. But pretty much it's done, I think. I'm super stoked with how it turned out. Just wanted to pop in quickly and show you how I finished off these last two. This is a different purple one. The one was ruched in the middle with the rose. This is a different one for another purple girl. This is the one that I covered with the paper that I was going to give to my daughter. It was just too plain, so I added this and then put some more of those little roses that I had made. I like it a lot better. It's cute. And then I made this one for my dad. He's not supposed to have sugar because he's diabetic, but I had a little one that I had bought, and I just decorated it up. And I'm trying to make it, you know, a little more masculine. He likes 49ers. So I thought, well, you know, there we go. If you liked my content, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and a like. Share the love, peeps. Okay, thanks so much. I hope you have a beautiful Valentine's Day. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.